Why was that so short?
Hey.
And you keep them guessing. Dude, I reheard a clip. I reheard a clip of. Actually,
There's no beat drop. Oh, there it is.
Oh, there we go.
Oh, it's very gentle.
It's subtle though. It's subtle. Yeah.
Yeah, so.
What were you gonna say? That you heard something? What?
That TV is too loud. Like, baby girl, I need you to lower that down.
The TV's fine, bro. This is a family show.
What are they singing?
It's a nice little ambiance in the background.
Welcome in, smart football people. It is Thursday. Thursday night football is upon us. We've got a massive, massive NFC West matchup tonight. We've got my Seattle Seahawks. We've got somebody else's San Francisco 49ers. I don't know who. Nobody on this.
Who loves them.
Nobody on this show. Shout out to Jose, who loves the San Francisco 49ers.
Loves the Niners.
But a big matchup, huge matchup nonetheless. Obviously, playoff implications everywhere. As we usually do on the show, we will get to the things that happened last week. We'll get to stuff that is going to happen this week, and then we will build our DraftKings lineup later on in the program. As usual, we've got smart football person number one, Adam Rauch, who works at Establish the Run. He has an algorithm, trying to think of what other cool, very Apple words I can use.
Very Apple. I worked at Apple for 2 years. You know it's a cult, right? They're crazy.
Brother, everything's a cult.
Like the people in the
Let's be honest. Everything's a cult.
No. Yeah, kind of, but not really.
Algorithm.
It's
beta AI generated.
It's a revolution.
Wow. Shit. Okay. Wow.
Adam, before the show started, said like the way he came into what was about to be his take, I was like, Adam, I need to stop you because
I don't know if it was a take or I don't know if it was like something that he had to get off his
he
chest.
It's a proclamation. It's a proclamation.
Okay. No, I gotta say.
Adam is like courteous, so he was like, he'll let you talk, right? But like he was like, guys, I need you to shut the hell up. What I'm gonna say, and I was like, save it.
Okay, let's hear it.
Okay, I got one thing to say about tonight's game, and one thing only. They tried to write Geno Smith off. He didn't write back.
Boy.
Tony loves that.
Boy.
Tony's on cloud nine with that.
Dude, you know what? I am so happy that Geno's getting the love that he deserves, because for somebody to do what he's doing right now is absolutely unheard of. There is nobody that has been absolutely pedestrian for 7 years of his career, then get another chance with a team that we thought was going to be garbage and now has them square in the middle of a playoff hunt. And I couldn't be more happy for him. I saw something on Twitter, and I don't know who it was that tweeted out. It might have been Hembo from ESPN, my boy Paul Hembakides. Through the first, I want to say 7 years of his career, I think from 2009, I think Geno Smith got in the NFL in 2009 or 11. I don't remember, one of those two. From either 11 to 16 or 11 or 9 to 16 or something like that. He threw 29 touchdowns. This season, how many touchdowns does he have, boys?
You tell me.
30. I think he's got 30 touchdowns.
I thought you were asking me genuinely. I was like,
no. I was just maybe you guys had seen it. Maybe you guys were looking up some stats or whatever. Like he's got a lot of touchdowns, and
he leads the league in completion percentage, doesn't he?
I think so.
I think I knew that he did. I'm pretty sure that still holds.
He's being super aggressive down the field. Like, we thought that this offense was going to be a very run-heavy offense like it was with Russell Wilson, and the whole thing was like, oh, let Russ cook. And now we're looking at him in Denver and being like, ooh, not good, right? And Geno's come into a team that we thought was not going to be good, that was going to be run-heavy, that was going to be very DK Metcalf-centric, and now he's not only propping up one receiver in DK Metcalf, but I think Lockett's got a touchdown the last 6 games or something. Like, we are seeing prime vintage Tyler Lockett right here with Geno Smith.
This is what we wanted. This is what we wanted from Geno Smith, or not from Geno, but from Tyler Lockett and DK Metcalf. We wanted Russ to cook. We should have just let Geno cook this entire time. Do you guys know who leads the league in pass rate over expectation the last 5 weeks? It's
a big stat. Yes.
It's the Seahawks.
That which is insane, because they were always a run-first team.
Well, right now they're 8th overall offense according to PFF, and their passing game is 7th in the league.
Like, who saw this coming? There is not an analyst alive that saw this coming from this
All right,
team.
but does this happen more often, or do the numbers usually tell the tale more often? Like one has to give, right? Like, is this more of an anomaly? Like, do we have to question all of our math people now because it's like, oh, well, you never saw this coming. What are we doing? Because of this, is this an anomaly, or is this us being really not able to predict football?
That's tough.
I don't think it's really that. I really think there's got to be some anomaly to this. I don't know of anyone who thought the Seahawks offense could be performing as well as they have at the beginning of the year. When people were talking about Kenneth Walker in the preseason as like a rookie of the year candidate, maybe a sneaky running back in best ball. I mean, the ADPs on Lockett and Metcalf were so low because of Geno.
In like the 60s or 70s.
Yeah.
At least I got Lockett, I think, in a couple leagues at like the 7-8 turn.
Yeah.
Like way down there. And I was like, oh yeah, I can throw a little flyer on Tyler Lockett and stuff. But to answer your question, Lou, it's like, is it an anomaly? If you want to take a year sample and be like, yeah, it was an outlier year for Geno Smith, and if next season, for some reason or another, he throws for 16 touchdowns and 21 interceptions, and the Seahawks are 6-12 or whatever it is, yeah, I get it. Or 6-11, excuse me. If it was a small sample size of a game where Geno throws 4 touchdowns and throws for 300 yards, I'd be like, yeah, that's a small sample size for a game. The fact that we've been able to extrapolate it over 15 weeks now, this is week 15, and he's still pass rate over expectation, completion percentage, touchdowns, yards, like all the stuff that he's doing is career highs. Like, I don't think anybody has an answer for that. And it's really exciting because I don't know about you guys, but for me at least, like, I like watching teams that are just on the cusp, right? I love watching the Bills and the Chiefs and, the Eagles and the Cowboys and all these like really good teams. But what I like is watching underneath the surface of all of those good teams are like the secondary good teams that are trying to make that jump. I love the Jags, the Lions. Now the Vikings obviously have been kind of fighting through the Jets. Like all of these different teams, I love watching because I'm like, oh shit, like the Lions are really good. They just need to figure out like a couple of things defensively, but their offense is and I joked about it on the top 5 this past week. I don't think they're the best offense in football. And of course, as you guys know, the top 5 tends to be a bit hyperbolic, right? Just letting you guys in underneath the curtain here. The top 5 ends up being hyperbolic, but the fact remains that they have one of the best offensive lines in football, talking about the Jags. They have one of the best offensive lines in football. They've got a deep running back room. Their receivers across the board are super deep. Like Jared Goff is playing really well. Obviously, they got rid of Hawkinson, whatever. I think they're just trying to play more for what feels like 4 or 5 wide. But do you guys like watching those teams that are like scraping by, or are you just kind of watching the teams that are just the best and being like, get this out of my face?
The thing for me is one of 2 things is happening. Either I'm not in the playoff picture in my fantasy league, in which case I'm watching every game. Like, so I'm not really watching anything specific. I'm just watching everything that's on my team, my main teams. Or the Dolphins are good. The Dolphins haven't been good in 25 years. So, like, this season, I was like, hey, I don't care about, like, I mean, once I went to Hawaii, I care about fantasy football. But I was in Hawaii by, like, week 9.
Hold on. We need to explain to the people, because I see live from Hawaii in the chat. Shout out Ben Gomez, by the way. The term "I'm in Hawaii," you can use that. Anybody can use that here. I will give you the opportunity.
Yeah, we don't do
use
that.
it.
We don't do that to phrases.
Credit free. You don't have to give me the credit for it. Just you're gonna understand what it means. When you are either so bad in fantasy that season, or you've maybe made some moves that haven't been great, or you're trying to play for next season, and you have no hopes of making the playoffs, no hopes of making a championship game, you're just in Hawaii, man. Like, instead of like
Hawaii,
1, 2, 3
dude.
Cancun, we changed it. Now we're going to Hawaii. We're not going to Cancun anymore.
Where are y'all going in Hawaii? Out of curiosity, like what island are you picking?
Tony.
When
The next time I go to Hawaii, I'm going with Tony, and Tony is
I was in Oahu for a week, and then I went to Maui for a week, and it was
Kauai is severely underrated.
Yeah, Kauai is incredible. Next time I go to Hawaii,
Adam's been to Hawaii.
I think it was the summer heading into my freshman year of high school. That's how long ago that was. But
wow.
it's beautiful. It's beautiful.
Beautiful.
Andrew Luck.
Absolutely beautiful.
Limited fake Andrew Luck thing.
Did you know? So right next to Maui, not to make this a Hawaii live stream. We'll get to football in a second. But I was listening to a podcast and they were talking about, I don't remember what it was, something that had to do with deer, right? And I was not listening to a deer podcast, but it was
it's deer season, Tony.
I know. I know in Texas, I'm sure.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Buck season. So did you guys know that? So there's a little tiny island right next to Maui called Lanai, which has some great beaches. They also have in this small island of maybe 3,000 people in Hawaii, there's 30,000 deers. It's like a population of like 30 or 40,000 deers.
What is it with Hawaii and populations of wild animals taking over these islands? Okay, because you mentioned that. When I went to Kauai many years ago, that island is run by wild chickens. Did you know that?
No.
And the chickens attacked me and my family at a restaurant. And my older sister was scarred for life because they attacked her at this restaurant. Yeah. Wild deer in Lanai, wild chickens in Kauai.
So in Maui, there's even more deer than in Lanai. There's like 70,000, I think what they said, 70,000 deer in Maui, which is insane. Really quick in the chat, I'm going to put this up so everybody can see it. Daniel, Hawaii's all about the drunk, I can't remember name, grocery store for poke. It's Foodland, brother. Foodland. If you go to Foodland in Hawaii, the poke is unreal. They give you like a Chipotle-sized bowl just full of fresh, like ruby red ahi tuna. The greatest thing of all time. Anyways, let's get to football. Yeah. Adam, as I said before, Lions, big win. Vegas had them favored. They came out and what felt like controlled the game from the start to finish, right? The Jags come in and absolutely steamroll the the Titans. And like these two teams are looking really, really good. Albeit they may not make the playoffs, but projecting into next season, fantasy relevant people from these two teams, like who are you seeing and saying like, okay, this is starting to make sense and we can really bank on these guys for next year? Maybe outside of like the obvious guys, Amon-Ra, DeAndre Swift, which we'll talk about that in a second. Christian Kirk.
Travis
Etienne, guys like that.
Yeah, let's start with Detroit because and looking at it on a macro perspective, let's zoom out a little bit. Detroit was never typically known as a pass-heavy team. And even at the beginning of this year, not a super pass-heavy team to start off because they utilized Jamal Williams and DeAndre Swift a lot. That has changed in the last few weeks. Their situation-neutral pass rate has increased, and their plays per game has increased. And with that, Jared Goff has been better. I mean, we've talked about Jared Goff being good in the past on those Rams teams. He had weapons. I mean,
he went to the Super Bowl.
He went to the Super Bowl. And I think a lot of people wrote off Jared Goff. His rankings since week 10, let's look at them. Third in the NFL in pass rating at 107.9. He's third in the league in passing yards with over 1,300, and he has 0 turnovers. What more could you want from a guy who many people thought was going to be an absolute bust for this team?
And a team that was going to be garbage too.
Garbage, right. People were talking about this team was going to be bad. I mean, and they had a terrible start to the year. They had some really close losses. Dan Campbell was crying, and look at them now. They've got a great O-line. I think when people want to talk about fantasy and real life football, if you were to ask me what is one thing you could look at, one element of a football team you could look at and say, because of this, I know that this team is going to be good in fantasy and in real life. To me, that's the offensive line.
Yeah. Detroit,
even when they were bad the last couple of years, they've had terrific offensive lines. This year, they've been able to put it together with their weaponry. Ben Johnson, who's their offensive coordinator, was the guy who called the Penei Sewell passing play last week.
Stones.
Like Ben Johnson,
was that third or fourth down? Ooh. I know it was late in the game. I know it was the last drive to ice it. I want to say it was third down because I don't think they would have tried that on fourth.
Well,
I think it was a third down play, but still, Stones on that.
Shout out to Ben Johnson. I mean, this guy may be a head coaching name to look out for in the future. Just the way he's been able to lead this team. We talked about Amon-Ra St. Brown. There's not a whole lot to say about Amon-Ra St. Brown.
He's a star.
He's a star. He's third in the NFL in yards per route run. I mean, he's a target hog.
And that's such an important indicator for fantasy success and overall success when you look at analytics. Like yards per route run is so important because it shows you like he's getting targeted and he's getting targeted in places that he's going to be able to get into space and like create things. Right. Exactly. And it's just such a cool thing to see somebody who came on to the latter part of last year. And I think after Thanksgiving, he went on a tear and had like 8 touchdowns and like all these yards or something and just like never looked back. So it's really cool to see somebody who was. And did you watch Hard Knocks or no? Not to harp a lot on the Lions, but did you watch Hard Knocks?
I did not, to be honest with you.
So there's a segment where they talk to Amon-Ra and they show his dad and they show EQ, his brother, Economy St. Brown, who plays for the Bears. Yeah. Those who don't know. And his dad was former Mr. Universe or like Mr. Olympia or something. And they've been training since they were kids. And they kind of do a zoom in on the Sun God. And he's like, there were 13 or 14 receivers taken before me, and I can name each one of them. And he goes through the list of all of the guys that were taken in front of. Luke, can you find out what, I think it was 2020. Yeah, I think it's what, this is his second year or his third? Find out what round.
2021. He had drafted in the 4th round, pick 112.
Okay, can you take a look at some of the names wide receiver wise that were picked in front of him?
Let's do this
and see if we would rather have him. Or
would you rather have Jamar Chase or Sam Brown?
Come on, yeah.
Okay, Jalen Waddle or Sam Brown?
You know what?
Think about it, Tony.
Yeah,
depends on who's my quarterback. What's my offense?
That one's close. That one's close.
There's got to be some bad names.
Nah, I think like Waddle hasn't gotten injured. I don't know. Is there a durability question now with St. Brown? Who knows? Devonta Smith or St. Brown?
St. Brown.
Yeah.
St. Brown. Kadarius Toney or St. Brown?
Now here's the thing, man.
Okay, there you go.
Here's the thing. Here's the problem. And for those asking for the chat, the guy on the bottom here that you do not recognize, Adam Rauch from Established to Run, go check out their stuff. They have a ton of DFS, fantasy sports in general, analytics and information, podcasts, live streams, all that jazz. And he does an algorithm, bot AI, revolution, beta, situation that we'll get to in a little bit called Game Scores, which shows you what the games you need to be targeting for DFS. Anyways, Kadarius Toney. I love Kadarius Toney. I think he's an elite talent. I think he's a special playmaker. He also can't stay healthy. And how am I supposed to take somebody that doesn't stay healthy? But I want the record to show that I love Kadarius Toney. I think he's a really, really special player.
Yeah, I want to revisit Kadarius Toney next year when he's presumably fully healthy, still on the Chiefs.
Yes.
Yeah. Don't forget about him.
Who else, Lou?
My bad, I got distracted. Next is Rashad Bateman.
Amon-Ra, easy.
Yeah. Elijah Moore,
easy. Amon-Ra.
Rondale Moore.
Rondale,
as
we call him in Miami, Rondale. I'd rather have Amon-Ra.
Dwayne Eskridge.
We're gonna see. I think we're gonna see him tonight. Actually, Dwayne Eskridge. Where is he? Let's see. What's his price?
Oh my God, is he on this? Is he in this? Yeah, I think he is on.
Yeah, he's a
Tutu Atwell.
No, please. Dwayne Eskridge is not only on. He's on IR.
He's on IR, but he's 600.
Really, I have him here at 900. Oh, that's my captain.
Josh Palmer.
Oh, please.
Damn, that's not a decent. Like, this is a decent wide receiver class.
It was, and think about how good Amon-Ra has to be to like. Okay, we're putting him up at the top of the class with Jamar Chase. And
and you may take him over the second wide receiver pick.
Yeah, I may take him over Waddle too. But Amon-Ra's had the benefit of being a number 1 wide receiver for his team. Waddle, at least this year with Tua, has been the number 2 behind Tyreek. So, but yeah, before we get off the lines real quick, also want to give a shout out to DJ Chark.
Yes. Well, I have a shout out that I haven't said yet.
Okay.
No. DJ Chark came up strong too.
DJ Chark has really emerged for the Lions receiver core last few weeks. I want to say since going back to that week 10 sample, he's like led the team in yards per target and yards per reception. He's a deep play kind of guy. And we saw that last week again. We've seen it the last couple of weeks where Goff is looking for him deep. They isolate him on the boundary and just let him go. He's got elite speed, and he's a great fantasy play, especially in DFS on DraftKings. So Chark has popped up in winning lineups on a couple of occasions on the previous main slate. So got to get some love to DJ Chark.
I need to give love. Our king has finally returned to action on the Detroit Lions. Jameson Williams, welcome to the NFL. Makes me feel so good to see him uncovered. Obviously, it was a broken play. That's not the point, right? The point is that he was running uncovered, absolutely buck naked into the secondary for a touchdown. And it's good to see good players getting a chance to shine. And I was worried about Jameson Williams when they picked him, because I just think he's a guy who is elite speed, elite size, like a really good route runner. The ACL hopefully didn't, do too much to him. But when they picked him, I was like, I don't know if the Lions are going to be it. And now looking back 15 weeks into the season, it's like, wow, they have a legitimate wide receiver core. If they can line up DJ Chark outside, Jameson Williams on the other side, and run Amon-Ra in the slot, like this is a really good trio for the next 5 to 7 years.
It's an exciting trio, and if they put it together and somehow make a miraculous playoff run and get into the tournament this year, I mean, they're ramping up Jameson Williams week by week. I mean, it's very slowly and
incrementally,
incrementally, and his touchdown came on a busted coverage, but his reps are going to come.
Not the point. Point is, it was a 41-yard touchdown.
41-yard touchdown. And look, they're going to continue to ramp him up, get him more work, phase out guys like Josh Reynolds and Khalif Raymond, get that guy in there. And they also, I mean, aside from the receivers, they know how to implement their running backs too. We're always frustrated that DeAndre Swift doesn't get the workload he deserves, but they're able to use him and Jamal Williams and even Justin Jackson.
I know.
Who's been getting in the box.
Charger cast off.
And he's been solid for them. They've all been solid. Lions are averaging 32 points in the last 5 games. They're clicking right now. And I love it. Shout out to
Lions. Yeah,
go
shout out to the Lions.
So after what was the last one? Josh Palmer, we go Dyami Brown. Dyami, by the way, the most
Dyami Brown.
It
is.
Dyami.
Look, Dyami Brown, not for nothing. He's had a good little season this year. He's caught a couple like 75. He's caught a couple 75-yard touchdowns for the commies. Like he's a good player. I like him.
Amari Rogers.
Oh, he caught a touchdown last week.
Yeah.
Oh, look at that. Nico Collins.
Nico Collins played well too.
Well, Nico was out. Nico was out last week.
He's been playing well the last couple weeks.
He's been playing well when he's been in that feature role for Houston. He's a big body, super physical. He high points the ball, makes contested catches.
I love that analysis. I mean, Anthony Schwartz.
Yeah.
Watch this. Anthony Schwartz. And then it looks like Des Fitzpatrick. And then at 112.
Amon-Ra.
Out of USC, Amon-Ra St. Brown.
Sun God.
How are you not confident having that name? Like that guy is like, he walks into the room. He's like,
dude, his dad was Mr. Universe. Look up his dad, please.
All right.
Look up Amon-Ra's dad, and then you could see why he's got 2 kids in the NFL. Like the guy is like a specimen. Anyways, as Lewis looks for
his name. That's his name.
For pictures of Amon-Ra St. Brown's dad.
Yeah, he's not St. Brown, by the way. He's not St. Brown.
Oh, he's not.
Oh,
I think he's just Brown. Like he's whatever his name is,
guy,
Brown.
Dude.
Yeah. Can you put a picture of him?
Yeah, can we get a picture of him up on the street?
Yeah. Just give me 1 second. I gotta see.
The athletic parent narrative most of the time never fails, by the way.
Yeah, for sure.
So
that's why when you hear like, oh, his mom ran track, or like his mom played volleyball, or the dad's a former NFL player. Like, look at the Bosas, look at the Matthews, look at you fill in the blank. Yeah, you fill in the blank, and they're
fill in the blank. You got athletic parents, you got a shot, kid.
See a lot of unathletic parents in this chat right here.
Yes, unfortunately.
My parents were not athletes.
My dad's more of like a business type of guy. You know what I mean?
A business guy. What do you want to do?
Yeah. We're really good with.
Are you ready for this? Are you guys ready for this?
Yes. Yes.
3, 2.
Bro, come on,
that,
dude.
dude.
With the Jerry curls, that thing is thangin'. What?
Like, that's a perfect body.
Bro,
That's crazy.
That's insane.
Never fade on Monroe.
Equanimous was horrible for Green Bay. I don't think he got a fair shake, like in Cinephobe. Anyways, he hasn't been bad for the Bears. More importantly, let's look back at some of the stuff this past week. What did you think stood out to you when I look across Week 14? And we'll do it very quickly. Your Texans almost beating the Cowboys. I thought that was an interesting note.
That was wild.
We touched on the lines.
We can talk on the Jags a little bit because Trevor Lawrence won the slate last week for people. He was in the Millie Maker winner lineup. Evan Ingram had a career game.
Where has that been since 2016?
Well, it's interesting because Evan Ingram has always had a defined role in this Jags offense since they brought him in. It just hasn't stood out because he hasn't been earning a lot of targets. But prior to this game, he was still earning around 5 to 7 targets routinely. He was still on the field for 35 plus offensive snaps routinely. He just wasn't making catches. He wasn't getting in the box. Last week, it just kind of clicked. Look, they played the Titans. And for those who don't know, the Titans have one of the worst pass defenses in the league right now. So, they took advantage. Trevor Lawrence did his thing. Trevor Lawrence was playing super well, super efficient. The Jags have been passing at a higher rate, just like the Lions have been. And I think the one difference we talked about Jared Goff, how he's been performing really well. Trevor Lawrence falls into that category too.
He's been killing it.
He's been
absolutely killing it.
And the one thing that Trevor Lawrence does so well, I think, is and I know this is cliche, so I don't want to sound like a talking head on TV, but he truly makes his receivers better.
Yeah.
Think about their supporting cast. They have Christian Kirk, who's been kind of, when
that
he's in
contract,
Arizona,
that contract looks great now, by the way. Great.
Still really expensive. He's been performing well for them, but we're talking about Zay Jones, Marvin Jones,
the Jones brothers,
Evan Ingram. People were
cast-offs.
Laughing.
You're talking about cast-offs.
Yeah.
Cast-offs from Detroit, cast-offs from Oakland, cast-offs from New York Giants. A bunch of guys that just aren't that good. And like you said, he's making them better. He's throwing them open. He's putting the ball in spots that prove to you why he was the first pick overall, why he was such a transcendental talent, man.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
Yeah, and it made sense, right? We were coming into the year, we were saying, okay, well, do we take a look at Trevor Lawrence with Urban Meyer and just throw it out the window?
Yes.
And
yes.
Flat out. Urban Meyer you could make the argument, was one of the worst NFL head coaches of all time. Record, personality, PR, was one of the worst head coaching since we've ever seen. Put in Doug Peterson, look what Trevor Lawrence does. And don't get me wrong, Trevor Lawrence has had some inconsistent weeks this year. They were the one team that beat Houston, or they were the one team that lost to Houston. So look, they've had some bad weeks, but lately they've been just playing really well. And for fantasy specifically, it really helps because their defense also is not good. So they're just getting on the field. Their offense is on the field a lot.
The recipe for great fantasy is good quarterback, especially for skill players. Good quarterback, bad defense.
Yep.
That is gold mine. Speaking of the opposite, which is good defense, bad quarterback. It was nice to see Jerry Jeudy finally do something that was worth anything.
Yeah.
He's just been kind of pedestrian for this season, at least outside of a couple good games, but a nice 3 touchdown explosion. Russ looked to be somewhat Russ of a little bit and then gets knocked out with a concussion, but the Broncos are bad. And there was a lot of people thinking with Cortland Sutton on one side, Jerry Jeudy on the other, this could be a kind of a Matthew Stafford, Cooper Kupp, Robert Woods light when he came in. New quarterback comes in, gives a boost and props up 2 wide receivers in the offense. And it just hasn't been that, man. Do you have an answer for why things have gone so south in Denver?
Look, maybe there was a reason why Pete Carroll didn't want to let Russ cook, right? And you guys were talking about this on the show this week, and I agreed with this analysis that what Russ did best in Seattle was playing out of structure. where he's so good at getting out of the pocket when plays break down. He's good at finding the running receivers on the run, making plays with his legs. You know, going to a new team in Denver under a questionable, by the way, nicely putting it, a questionable head coach Nathaniel Hackett, trying to learn a new offense. Russ is not the physical, mobile, agile quarterback he once was. You're asking him to come in, even though he's got decent weapons around him, you're asking him to come in and transform that Denver offense. It just hasn't happened. He can't make plays with his legs anymore. He's not been good at processing the field or making decisions. I mean, you know, he did put together a solid performance last week before he got hurt, but I mean, that was one game. I mean, I point to any other game this year where Russ has been. You can't. He's just. I mean, and it's not like they've had like a super challenging schedule. They've had opportunities. They just haven't done it. You know, we're kind of past. We all know this. We're past Russ's prime, and we may have been past it before we even knew it.
And dude, he's got another 6 years left on his deal. And like the cap hits later and later and later are massive, $50-60 million against the cap. Like, how do you get away from that?
Is this like more of a like scheme thing?
I can't even answer
how do you
that.
go?
I can't even answer that, dude.
Like
because
the only reason we say let Russ cook is because he's cooked before. You
well,
know what I mean? Like we know that he could cook.
But yes and no, right? Because inside the confines of Seattle's offense, it was always we're a run-first team, and then Russ can get out of the pocket, extend plays, and make things happen with his legs, right? Throw guys open, whether it was Doug Baldwin, ended up being Tyler Lockett. Like, he was able to do that. And I think Mina said it greatly on, great on the show. Greatly, a very Trumpian word there. I don't know why I said that. Great. She said it greatly. She said it very well on the show. It's like,
Wellly.
Yeah, Wellly, bigly.
Bigly.
that Russ was so good, and he's scheme agnostic, right? Like, you do not run a certain scheme when you have Russ, because he's so good of getting out of it and like making things happen on his own and kind of being a magician in the pocket, where all of a sudden when he, like Adam said, like doesn't have that athleticism anymore, you can't just point to a scheme and be like, we're running the West Coast offense, or we're running air raid, or we're going to be a run first team, which they wanted to be, obviously, with Javonte Williams. He gets hurt. All of a sudden, the pressure of the entire city is on Russ's back, and he just isn't the same guy anymore. So it's incredibly tough. And maybe everything would have been different if Tim Patrick would have stayed healthy. Adam, I don't know.
Oh, yeah, Tim Patrick. That was what did Russ in. Yeah, man, Tim Patrick. If only who's the KJ Hamler was
KJ Hamler. I love KJ Hamler. I thought he was really
KJ Hamler. Yeah, you don't have Tim Patrick, you don't have KJ Hamler. What are you gonna do?
I mean, you have Kendall Hinton though.
Yeah, you got Kendall Hinton. And one more thing I'll talk about Russ. Look, Cortland Sutton and Jerry Jeudy are fine receivers. Let's not get carried away though, and compare them to Tyler Lockett and DK Metcalf and Doug Baldwin in his prime. Those three, Baldwin in his prime, Metcalf and Lockett, are supreme athletes.
Yeah.
Lockett with burning speed. Metcalf is like
a Greek god.
He's the physical specimen of the league.
Yeah.
And, Jeudy and Sutton are good, but they've also had trouble staying healthy. And I don't think they are able to mask the imperfections of Russell Wilson as good as Metcalf and Lockett and Baldwin were able to.
And they have Latavius Murray running the ball. Poor Mike Boone's been in and out of the lineup on IR like 17 times. Like, he doesn't have that running game to lean back on and be like, okay, at least I can get 5 yards a carry here. If I've got beast mode, or if I've got, I'm even trying to think of who it was that they had the last couple of years, like Rashad Penny or Chris Carson or whoever it was.
Yeah, Rashad Penny was absolutely dynamite for them.
Yeah,
down the stretch last year. So
and it's like, okay, well, I've got nobody to run with, and I've got a limited amount of people to throw to. I don't know how the offensive line's been playing. I don't think great. I think their offensive line's been kind of bottom half of the league this season.
I don't think it's been anything special. I don't think they've been necessarily terrible, but I wouldn't call them necessarily special. I am curious to say that because I kind of want to look up our OLDL or offensive line rankings that we do at Establish the Run that Brandon Thorne does for us.
Excellent. Excellent way to start the season too, guys. For next season, like you got to get your draft kit from Establish the Run because they have everything super in depth, and the fact that they have offensive and defensive line rankings, like all that stuff, is super important.
Yeah.
They would have told you to steer clear of Najee Harris. A lot of people in the chat probably had Najee Harris this season. And you're in Hawaii with me and Lewis.
Yeah, for sure.
With the deer and the chickens.
with the deers. Lewis, you left, but the stat was Maui has like 70,000 deers. Okay. Inexplicably. How do deers get to Hawaii? I digress. More important things.
Probably
just something for you to think about. How did deers get to Hawaii?
1 million millions. Yeah, you got me tripping.
All right, this week we'll kind of go through this week's slate. Adam, your best plays. I'm looking across here. Now we have the Saturday games going. I'm not a huge fan of the Saturday games. I like my football on Sundays. My NFL football because so here's the thing. My wife is like, okay, do you have to give me one day of the weekend? Obviously Sunday, very important day for me. I need to be watching. Yeah, I need to be watching the NFL from 12:59 to 11:59 p.m. Like that's my window. Sundays, Jen, sorry, Sundays are mine. So I have to give her Saturdays, right? Luckily, we'll hang out with her family.
Do Fridays count?
Do Fridays count? Yeah, but
you're working part of the day Friday, so
yeah. So Saturday, no, I made it hazy. Saturdays, I give them to my wife, and unless we have a UFC fight that night, which then I have to work. But my more important point is that I like to have all my football on Sundays because Saturday I know something's going to come up. And I'm not going to be able to watch Kirk Cousins at 1:00 against the Colts. I'm actually.
Do you want to watch that game at all?
I'm happy that I'm not watching Ravens Browns because that seems dreadful.
You would rather watch? I mean, I guess Jeff.
I mean, I'm a Vikings guy, dude. Like I have to watch my team. But I will be locked into Bills Dolphins, even though there will be some weather. Looking across the main slate, does the algorithm pop for any game in particular? I'm looking across like our matchups here.
Yeah,
I don't love any of them offensively, if you want me to be honest.
Right. It's kind of an odd slate. They're on the main slate we're talking about, so we're just talking about Sunday noon and afternoon, 3:25, 3:05 games.
Mm-hmm.
We've got 10 this week. None of them have a total of 50 or above. So that's where we're starting. Okay. So that's not ideal.
That's so bad.
Now I did have the take. I just recorded the GPP game scores pod with Mike Leone.
Listen to that. Super important.
Yeah. If you subscribe to the Establish the Run podcast feed and the subscriber feed, if you're a subscriber, you can see it on there. This week seems a little bit better, though, than last week. I mean, last week's main slate, we had two games that I think were above 50, and then the rest were like so low, like 43, 44, 38, 39. Like it was ugly outside of maybe a couple games. It just happened to be that one of those games that was looking real ugly was that Jags-Titans game, and Lawrence went off. This week, we got a lot of games that are in the upper 40s. So one of the games that I'll go through. I'm going to read out a few games that sound interesting to me from a fantasy or DFS standpoint, starting with the Eagles and Bears. That seems interesting.
Mm-hmm.
We can go down to Chiefs and Texans and Houston this weekend. That game actually has the highest total on the slate right now at 49.5.
Just because they think the Chiefs are going to score
31, I think.
31 of them, yeah.
I think their implied team total is 31. Titans at Chargers. I mean, we talked about how bad the Titans' pass defense is going up against Justin Herbert, who we saw how many times he threw last week.
59. I think it was 59.
Right. I mean, this matchup sets up well for them here at home against the Titans. And one that kind of rated lower, not lower, but kind of in the middle of the pack on our game scores table that has kind of a low total but I am interested in is this Bengals-Bucks game, which is in the late afternoon slate. It's a 4:25 start. So I don't know which game which game sounds interesting to you guys? Which one do you want to go through?
Man, there's so, and I'm looking here, like obviously we talked about the good games, but like Falcons Saints, woof. Steelers Panthers, my God, Pa. Cardinals Broncos. If Russ doesn't get cleared, it's Brett Rippin versus Colt McCoy. Yeah, ripping it, exactly. Patriots Raiders, like
Philly Chicago.
That game is interesting just because I'd like to see how the Eagles defend Justin Fields.
Dallas Jackson. Dallas
Jacksonville. Dallas Jackson sounds like a tight end for
Dallas
the Eagles.
Dallas Jackson does sound like a tight end.
Detroit, New York.
The thing is, I mean, dude, the Lions have not run up against the defense.
We may have some bad weather. We know we're going to have bad weather in Buffalo. That bad weather may get to that Jets
to New York. Yeah.
You got New York, Washington, the Commies.
The Commies, yeah. But that's the Sunday night game.
Yeah, it's a Sunday night game.
I think the game that's most intriguing to me is to see if Joe Burrow can like just bury once and for all Tom Brady. Bengals Bucks. I think Brady's cooked. I think a majority of that is offensive line play. I think that he didn't want to come back, but I think external factors in his private life forced him to come back, outside of what happened with the lawsuit where he was going to come to the Dolphins in kind of a ready-made situation. That ended up getting nuked, and he kind of had already said, "Oh, guys, I'm coming back. Don't worry about it." And that left him kind of holding the proverbial bag, when it comes to, all right, we're going to run it back with a team that won the Super Bowl, but our offensive line kind of isn't the same. Our defensive line isn't the same. Our secondary's banged up. Linebackers are still good, but whatever. Like, different head coach. It just seemed like all of these different factors were playing against Tom, and now he just looks cooked. Like, there was a pass on 4th down to Mike Evans that was open, and he underthrew it by 4 feet. It was like,
that was rough.
Oof, like it just doesn't look good. So I think the Bengals are hot. I want to see. I don't think Tyler Boyd will be back. I know he dislocated his finger. I don't know if Tyler Boyd will be back. I think T. Higgins should be back. I think
that was hamstring. God, that pissed me off so much.
Especially when Zach Taylor said we lost him in warm-ups.
But they let him on like the whole week, like he was healthy, and then he gets out, he plays one snap, and he's done.
Yeah.
No indication of it. At least like list him questionable. I can tilt on that all day. It's really easy to pick on Brady. But look, I mean, I actually when we just did the game scores pod, so we have at the end of the show, we always wrap up with who is going to be the gross play of the week. Like, who looks
the one you don't want to touch.
You don't want to touch. You would never click on that guy's name this week, but hey, this week it actually might work. And I actually said Mike Evans was that guy this week.
Oh my God.
And I'll tell you why.
That is disgusting.
Hey, they're gross plays for a reason, Tony. Let me walk you through it though. The Bucks, even though they have not been a successful passing attack for the majority of this year, they're still throwing at a decent clip. I mean, they still love to throw the ball. The big issue with Brady has been his downfield passing. And yeah, a lot of that has to do with offensive line play. And that's not necessarily, there's no evident indicator that that's going to get a lot better this week. But on the other side, let's talk about the Bengals for a second. They're going to be without their top pass rusher, Trey Hendrickson, this week.
Big loss too.
Big loss for them.
An animal on the outside.
And their secondary is banged up. They have a couple of corners that are questionable that didn't practice today. Today's Thursday, so look, there's a lot that could change. But the Bengals are going on the road. The Bucs are going to be at home. These two teams like to throw the ball. And look, like we're talking about, if you're playing on DraftKings, like we're talking a lot about price and ownership. The Bucs are not going to be expensive, and no one's going to want to play them. So you can make a lineup where you say, okay, you know what? Maybe I don't want to play Brady, but I want to play Burrow. I want to play Chase, who's obviously
bring back. Yeah.
Nice little bring up with Evans. You know, Godwin is perfectly suited for Tom Brady right now because he operates on short and intermediate routes and operates out of the slot sometimes. So, you know, again, if you guys are if you're watching this and you want to play DraftKings, like that's what you got to keep in mind is ownership and price. And you know, again, this game has a low total at 44, but on a slate where your totals are going to be low across the board, all it takes is one game to go way over. And if you stack that game heavily, you're looking at potential payday there.
Let's get to the all-important part of the show that we do every single Thursday. Let's bring this bad boy up. We build our DraftKings lineup today. We are doing the NFL Holiday Free Contest Series. We've got our Showdown slate. We pick a captain. Their points are worth 1.5 fantasy points per. They are costing a little bit more on the salary, but this is a Showdown contest, and we are going to make it do what it do. Highest guy on the slate, Christian McCaffrey. I love to see this right here, even though I don't know what DraftKings runs as far as analytics when it comes to opponent point ranking, but I love to see 31st. I think McCaffrey.
Yeah. Love those green opponent rank numbers.
Exactly. The one thing about this game, obviously, Brock Purdy, who has been an absolute vision for this 49ers team, going against a team that is, how should we say it? Very susceptible on defense, if we can say that. They gave the ghost of Sam Darnold 30 points, which I'm still amazed by how they lost that game at home. I think they're going to want to hide Brock Purdy. I think they're going to want to hide Josh Johnson if he does make an appearance in this game. I think this is going to be a massive McCaffrey game. I don't know what you guys think about it. I know 17-1 is expensive, but this slate, we've seen higher pricing for captains, and 17-1 for McCaffrey, who can kind of do it all, seems pretty reasonable. Adam, what do you think?
Okay, so like I want to back up for a second, just look at the game as a whole, and this is not a commentary, not a comment on McCaffrey, because I think, yeah, we absolutely have to have McCaffrey in this lineup because his role is just too good, and without Deebo Samuel in the lineup tonight, there's just going to be even more work funneled to him. And I do agree with you. A Thursday night game in Seattle for Brock Purdy does not seem right. Does not seem like a good spot for him. And look, I mean, we all know about Christian McCaffrey's role. Regardless of game script, he's going to be involved.
Yeah.
So, but my thinking on the game as a whole, it's a 43.5 total, and the Niners are favored by 3.5 on the road. To me, it kind of seems like a Seahawks night.
Wow. Oh my God. Of course, you led the show with they wrote Geno off. He didn't write back. The writing was on the wall there. No pun intended.
And, you know, I don't know. I mean, yes, I think we put in Christian McCaffrey.
But not a captain. That's fine.
I say let's try him at flex for now.
Okay.
Look, he's going to be heavily owned. I don't think it really matters, though. By the way, what contest are we entering this in tonight?
Oh, we're doing a nice little NFL free holiday contest, 50K.
Okay. So because I always like to get an idea of like field size.
Oh, field size. We're in a big GPP.
Okay. So
it's an unlimited entry.
Mr. Unlimited.
Mr. Limited. Right now we have 112,000 entries to the free holiday.
So again, we're going to put in McCaffrey, but we're going to have to keep in mind that we're going to need to differentiate elsewhere because we're in such a large field tournament. So, but again, yeah, I have no problem.
Do you think against the Niner defense though that the Seattle will have that same type of game, given like that they just completely erased Miami?
I have faith in them. I mean, the Niners defense does so well is they stop the run at an elite rate. They're the best run defense in football. I think there's still some opportunity to throw on them, especially they're coming on the road on a short week, and Geno's going to be looking for a bounce back spot. Geno played his worst game of the season last week by far.
What did he have? I know he had a couple picks. I think one of them went for a pick 6, if I remember correctly. Or was it a fumble for a touchdown?
I'll look.
I want to say Carolina had a defensive touchdown. I just don't remember what it was.
Yeah. Geno didn't play well, but it's funny because he still got there. Like Geno still,
and he got his guys there, more importantly, which is what we love.
Right. So look, from like we talked about from a fantasy standpoint, like even when Geno has a bad game, if he can get you there, he threw for 3 touchdowns. He did throw 2 picks, but 264 and 3 touchdowns. He got Metcalf there, he got Lockett there, and Marquise Goodwin showed out. So, I'm trying to see. No, it doesn't look like they had a defensive touchdown, Tony. But they did.
Maybe it was a pick that I thought went to the end.
Yeah.
I was watching on Red Zone.
Right.
Okay, so we got McCaffrey locked in as a flex. Who do we like as our captain? I'm surprised to see that Lockett, even though he has been scoring a crazy amount of touchdowns, is $300 more than Metcalf on the slate for. It's interesting. Yeah,
it is interesting. Lockett is really efficient. Maybe that's what it's based upon. Because Metcalf's been getting a decent amount of volume. I would feel good about captaining Metcalf or Lockett because I think if this is a Geno night.
Yeah, but they're gonna eat.
Yeah.
One of the two is gonna eat.
And just looking like if we're gonna have McCaffrey in this lineup, we're gonna have to kind of like fit this. We're gonna have to fit our pricing in and make it work. So I'm leaning in favor of either Metcalf or Lockett at captain.
Let's do Metcalf at captain, save us $300 there.
Yep. Okay.
Like
that.
Man, I don't know why, but this guy right here, could he do it 2 games in a row? Elite speed, like Olympic level speed. Had, let's see, 6 targets last game, 5 for 95 and a tutty. Like they're keying in a lot on Lockett or Metcalf. My
only problem with Goodwin is it's just not a great value on price tag. That's what gives me pause. I don't want to discount the play altogether.
6,400, yeah.
Like that's kind of like the dead zone of this price of this salary structure tonight for this game. We're looking around that same range. You got Goodwin, and then you got right above him Travis Homer. Who I'm not with Kenneth Walker back. I'm not really looking to be on Travis Homer.
Yeah.
And then below that,
I'm fading. I feel like I'm fading all Seahawk running backs.
Fading Seahawk running backs, you said?
Yeah. I don't want any of them. Like I think at cost, like why am I going to pay $7,600 for Ken Walker when? Let's look at the last couple games. He hasn't broken over. Oh, they don't have a game by game here. I don't think he's broken over 50 yards the last like 2 games. I know he got hurt the game before. Oh, game log here.
Click game log there. I mean, he's been dealing with injury. I don't want to take away anything from Ken Walker.
But the last 3 weeks,
his efficiency has been bad.
10 for 17, 14 for 26, and 3 for 36, and then he got hurt. Where he said he jammed his ankle and obviously had a bye week in between. But like he hasn't broken 50 yards in 1, 2, 3, 4, and 4 of the last 5 games. So like it gives me pause against the best defense in the league with against the run.
Right. He doesn't have an injury designation heading into the game, but he is coming off. I mean, the reason he missed was because of an ankle issue. I don't think it was like
same.
It wasn't like your ankle issue, Tony. By the way, I hope your ankle's doing better.
I got back from therapy. Ankle feels decent. The swelling has gone down a lot, but the mobility, brother, not there. Absolutely not there. It's going to be a while till I hit the court. Okay, so
I wasn't initially thinking of playing Kenneth Walker. So
me neither. No, at all.
Yeah.
Man, this is the one that gives me pause too, because not only are the Seahawks bad against tight ends, there's got to be a Kittle game at some point, right?
Gotta be.
Like
Kittle. Oh man,
at 8K.
Kittle has burned me so many times this year because he just sets up so nicely in tournaments because no one plays him. He's like kind of always like priced in the middle range of tight ends, like cheap, but he's never going to be Mark Andrews or Travis Kelce price. And we've seen multiple games over the course of many seasons where George Kittle earns a ridiculous amount of targets and has these super elevated spike weeks. It just really hasn't happened this year. But the nice thing about Kittle, we play him at 8K. I don't think a lot of people are going to play him. Right now, our ownership projection on him overall is 26%.
Yeah, it's low.
And that's for Showdown. That's a good value there.
Yeah.
So I kind of like the Kittle call. I think we got to put in if we're captaining Metcalf though.
We got to put Geno.
Put in Geno.
Yeah.
Because he didn't write back. So
exactly. We've got $5K for 2 guys.
So we got to get a little creative here, Lewis. I don't want to keep any thoughts down from you. What do you think of this construction so far?
I'm just scared of the Niners. I'm like traumatized. Like seriously. But I trust you. Going DK.
Did you say the Mariners?
Did I? No.
I don't know actually.
Someone in the chat. I thought I heard Mariners there.
Seattle Mariners. That would be great if I said Giants against the Mariners here, right? That would be crazy.
Julio Rodriguez is priced tonight.
Exactly.
Damn.
No.
I
don't think it's gonna be
is so bad, man. Like,
okay, can I throw a gross play idea?
Of course.
Out there? Okay. The Seahawks have been known to deploy 3 tight ends. And they have 3 tight ends. We're talking Noah Fant, Will Dissly, Colby Parkinson.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like taking a flyer on one of those guys could be smart. May work. I don't know if I have a particular lean towards one or the other. I mean, obviously, we're getting the savings with Dissly and with Parkinson. Fant, you got to go up to 4,400.
Yeah, which kind of ices us out unless we want to put in. I don't know.
I don't know. I mean, Parkinson, when he hasn't been out there much, but when he has been out there, he's drawn the attention of Geno. And look, he's not going to be earning a ton of targets. We're hoping if we're going to play a guy like him, we're hoping he just finds like a 6-yard touchdown. Like he just gets in the box.
Oof.
So I don't know. That's pretty gross, but it's like a dart throw that I can at least get behind, and then we would have some room there at the end to kind of play something that makes some sense.
What about Ayuk?
Like
just who are we
taking out? Yeah,
who are we taking out?
He's 8,800.
And here's the thing about Ayuk. I want to make the point here. We haven't talked a lot about Debo being injured in this game. A lot of times a wide receiver 1 goes out and your thought process is, okay, well, where's
next
that target,
man up?
Where's that target volume funneling to? I don't necessarily think that just because Debo's out, that Ayuk is all of a sudden going to become the wide receiver 1 on this team. He's certainly going to get more looks, but think about how the Niners offense is structured, how they get CMC involved. They even utilize Jordan Mason. They like to go to George Kittle. They've even used some of their dustier tight ends in Ray McLeod and Juwan Jennings even. So I don't know if Ayuk is all of a sudden going to become their main target tonight.
I think if we're playing smart, I think we have the 2 guys that are going to siphon off the most work between McCaffrey and Kittle. I think they're going to have to lean on Kittle big time with Debo not there. I think a lot of that's going to come from McCaffrey short manufactured touches again, around the line of scrimmage. Okay. And I think they need to use Kittle outside of just being a blocker. Like, they have to, like he's such an elite tight end as a blocker. I understand it's like having an extra offensive lineman out there, but he's also an elite route runner and yards after the catch, God. So like they need him to step up, especially against a divisional opponent when they need wins. Like they need to stockpile wins in this stretch until they figure out what's happening with Jimmy. You know what? I wanna let's throw in Will Dissly.
You read my mind, dude.
Hope for yeah. Let's hope for like a classic Dissly game, 3 for 37 and a tutty.
Love it.
Tony Jones Jr., who's not going to see the field. Tevin Coleman, my God. I mean, we are looking at the bottom of the barrel here, folks. Laquan Treadwell. We've got $2,600. Lewis's daughter even hates it.
Yeah, she's like Leona's mad, Rara's mad. There's a lot of
The dog is pissed. The dog just bit something in the corner I saw.
No, I hope not, dude. No, he's chill. Fitz is chill, dude. Fitzgerald Patrick is chill.
We're down bad, boys.
Okay.
We got 2,600 and we are down bad.
Give me a little.
And we just hit the hour threshold.
I'm not saying
we
we
need to
have to.
figure this out.
We need to feel.
Okay, I take Disley out for a second and put in Parkinson.
Okay.
See how much that leaves us.
That'll leave us a little bit more.
Right there. Oh, a lot more.
4K.
I think we can fit in
The Jason Myers
game. We could go Seahawks defense if we think Seahawks control this game. Maybe they get a
dude, you're
fumbles,
like all in.
I really like Seahawks tonight. I'm all on board.
You know what, dude? I'm down, bro.
You got conviction, bro. I was gonna say Juwan
Yeah,
Jennings.
I have zero conviction on this game.
Yeah,
dude.
and look at that. We $800 left over.
That's really why I've been
We
quiet.
can really add anybody else too.
I try to make you guys laugh at the top of the hour, did my little bit, and then just let you guys do the football part. Because I'm like, honestly, like it's tough because it's like the Niners just beat the Dolphins, so I'm kind of like, I don't care what you guys do. Like, go fly a kite, you guys. You know.
Good analysis there.
That's my rule. You need to have someone like. How do you know you're the dumbest person in the group? Because there's like people who are smarter than you, or reverse.
All right, I like it. Let's hope for a Parkinson touchdown. He can stumble and bumble into one. Hopefully, it's a Geno night to Metcalf, and then I think 49er wise, I think we're doing the smart play of these two guys being the guys that are going to siphon off the most out of Debo not being there. So update the entry. We are locked in as usual. The winnings will be cut 3 ways. Not actually, you know what? I don't really. The winnings, the top prize here is only $1,000.
Oh man!
What do you mean by that? Isn't it supposed to be 50K?
No, it's 50K is the pot, and I think it gets divided 50K ways. It feels like.
Nah, it doesn't make that.
That
can't make sense.
I know, but that's what it feels like. Hold on, let me see what the top.
It doesn't matter what it feels like. What is it?
Okay, so we'd actually, if we're somewhere in the 26,280 range, we'll make $1, and I'll send you guys 33 cents each on Venmo. How do you like that?
Listen, hey, someone goes in the chat. Y'all have made me lose over 10K in your awful bets. I'm like, brother, that's your fault.
Look, I don't believe that. First off, second off, we do a little thing called NMP here.
Not my problem. Not my problem. If you guys listen to us, that's not my problem.
I'm giving you lineups. That's all I'm giving you. That's it, baby. That's all we do here on Smart Football People. We talk football and we do DK lineups, and that's
Adam
about
is the smart guy here. Don't get
all right.
twisted.
Let's go around the room. Let's put it in the chat. I want to see it. Who do you guys have tonight? Obviously, we'll start with you, Adam, and I feel like we know your answer, but we need to know, who do you have tonight? What's the score? What's the spread looking like?
I got
what
Niners 24-13.
Okay.
Niners 24-13.
Yeah, I'm like ruining our bet here, but
I'm gonna go Seahawks. I alluded to it earlier. I think it's a Seahawks night. I'm hoping for a big game, so I'm gonna go 27-16.
Wow.
Seahawks.
27-16 Seahawks, Adam says. You said 24-13 Niners, right? Man, this is tough because on one hand, the Seahawks are one of my 5 teams, so I really need to ride for the boys. On the other hand, the defense for 49ers is really good. I'm gonna say under. I'm gonna say 21-17. 21-17 Seahawks.
That means that okay.
I can get behind it.
21-17 Seahawks. I think it's gonna be a low scoring game.
Low scoring, yep.
What's the over under? You said 48?
No, 43.5.
43.5.
No.
No, you've gone too far.
No.
Over under.
Yeah, no, it's. I think it'll be a little more high scoring than what the total indicates.
Really, you got an over game. I just feel like these games, with the 49ers being so banged up, it just feels to me like one of these Thursday games is just not going to be high scoring whatsoever.
Yeah, but I'm on the Geno train. You know that.
You are. But I still have Geno throwing 3 touchdowns and winning the game. And actually, maybe as a come from behind W, they're down 17-14. Geno puts together a masterful 2-minute drive, throws a touchdown to Lockett in the back of the end zone, tippy toe touchdown, 21-17.
Or even better yet, time's winding down, 10 seconds left, 4th and goal from the 5. Who does he throw to win the game?
Parkinson.
Colby Parkinson.
Let's
ship it.
Go.
Let's win that money.
I mean, yeah, let's do it.
All right, next week, let's see who we have.
Or you guys are not calling me out on my lack of enthusiasm there. You cannot let me disrespect you guys like this.
Look, we've got.
I'm just a little shocked. I thought that Adam would. I guess you're right. Like, why would we take the more obvious, who would have more success against said defense, right? Like,
right.
It's easy to go Niners here, so a lot of people are gonna have lineups that probably have Niners in it.
That favor the Niners, right?
Yeah, like for sure. How many people are putting McCaffrey as their MVP?
As their
captain?
Captain, probably
captain,
our captain projection on him right now is 35%. It's just the highest.
It's a massive.
Look, CMC, like I said, he's going to be a great play regardless of game script. So
we have 127,000 entries so far into this free holiday showdown.
But no, I think where I get emotional about it is because we have to imagine a narrative. So it's like, man, how would this best be? But it's also about building lineups that are different from other lineups.
Right. Exactly.
Yeah.
You get it, Lewis.
You got it.
I'm trying to get it. It hurts. Like there's dissonance in my heart, and I just have to accept the fact that I'm like, dude, we're fighting against other lineups.
Exactly. We're fighting against 127,000 other lineups. Yeah, exactly. And optimizers and all that jazz. Anyways. Thank you for hanging out as you usually do every Thursday, Smart Football people. Shout out to the team at DK for letting us hang out on their channel. That's always good.
Yeah.
Follow us on YouTube at Le Batard Show. Follow us on Twitch at Le Batard and Friends. I don't know if that's changed to Le Batard Show or not. I think our YouTube did. More importantly, follow us on social. Follow Adam on social at Rauch1. Follow Establish the Run. Go look up at their content. Sign up for it. The subs are now I think very discounted because we're getting close to the NFL
holiday season.
Yeah, holiday
sale
season, baby. Next week, very big game on Thursday night, which we'll be covering the shit out of. Jets, Jags. Maybe not important for a lot of you, very important for a lot of us who have the Jags being sneaky good.
Mike White,
yeah, exactly.
Dude, Tony, why do you look like Mike White? It's the weirdest thing.
He looks like me more than I look like me. I don't even like.
Very good.
If
I
you
like
look
that.
at the logo, that's actually Mike White. It's not even me. Like the logo in the bottom left corner, bottom right corner here of the screen. It's Mike White. It's not even me. Yeah. Weirdly enough. All right, guys. Thank you so much for hanging out. We'll see you guys next Thursday. Stay locked on all the things that we pitched out. YouTube, social, Twitch, all that jazz. We'll see you later. Peace.